Thanksgiving at our house is usually loud. Like, really loud. Football blasting on the television, kids running in and out of the kitchen, someone always yelling about forgetting the cranberry sauce. There's laughter, people talking over each other, that smell of turkey and cinnamon candles mixing together. It's chaotic, but it's familiar. But this year, I don't know, something felt off. Like everyone was playing a role or something. Too polite, too careful. My aunt was smiling way too much, like tight-jawed smiling. My cousin brought this new girlfriend no one had met, and he kept glancing at her like he was worried she might bolt. My uncle, who usually has 3 beers in by noon, was just sipping ginger ale. And my mom? She kept looking at the clock, every 5 minutes, like she was expecting someone, or hoping they wouldn't show up. I noticed it right away. The way her eyes darted toward the hallway whenever the floor creaked. The way she flinched when the oven timer dinged. I leaned over and said, "You okay?" And she just nodded too quickly. "Fine, fine," she said, but her voice was tight. Everyone was pretending everything was fine. That was the weirdest part. It was like the whole room had signed some unspoken agreement. Smile, eat, act normal. But you could feel it, that pressure under the surface. Something was off. Something was coming. And then, it did. Right in the middle of dinner prep. The doorbell rang. Just once. Short. Sharp. Like it knew what it was doing. The whole room froze, forks in midair. Someone had just opened the fridge, and it stayed open with that hum filling the silence. My mom dropped her spoon. My dad looked at her like, "You told me no one else was coming." She didn't move. Just stared at the front door like it might explode. My cousin's girlfriend whispered, "Are we expecting someone?" And everyone ignored her. My grandma actually crossed herself. No one moved for a few seconds. Then my dad stood up real slow, wiped his hands on a dish towel, and walked toward the door. He hesitated just a second, then opened it. And standing there was Uncle Ray. Now, I hadn't seen Ray in, what, 3 years? Since the last time he came to Thanksgiving? Which ended with shouting, a broken wine glass, and someone slamming a door so hard a picture fell off the wall. Ray had a way of turning everything into a storm. Always did. He and my dad never got along. And when Grandpa passed and left the will, well, it got ugly. Real ugly. Lawyers, yelling matches, threats of lawsuits. Ray walked out of that fight swearing he'd never come back. And he hadn't. Until now. My dad didn't say anything, just stood there staring at him. Ray grinned. That same cocky little grin he always had. "Smells good," he said. "You got room for one more?" My mom finally moved. She came over, and I swear her voice shook as she said, "Of course, come in." She pulled out another chair, another plate, and Ray walked in like nothing had happened. Saturday down right across from my dad, like it was all normal, like he hadn't disappeared for years. My dad sat back down, stiff, like his whole body was clenched. I looked around the table, nobody knew what to say. My cousin took a big sip of wine and cleared his throat. "So, football's on?" he offered weakly. Ray just smiled. "Still a Cowboys house, huh? Some things never change." My dad didn't even look up. Just started slicing the turkey with slow, deliberate cuts. And me? I just sat there, wondering what the hell was going on. Why now? Why today? And who had told him we were even hosting this year? Then I noticed something weird. My mom had already set an extra place, like hours ago, before he showed up, before anyone rang the doorbell. I remembered asking her earlier, "Hey, who's this plate for?" And she said, "Just in case." But she knew. She knew Ray was coming. That's why she kept looking at the clock. That's why she was jumpy all morning. Not gonna lie, I felt a little betrayed. Not because he was there, but because she didn't say anything. Like the rest of us didn't deserve a heads up. And Ray? He didn't miss a beat. Acted like he never left. Asked about work, the neighborhood, even cracked a joke about the old green recliner still being in the corner. Everyone gave him tight smiles. Half-hearted nods. It was so awkward. My cousin's girlfriend looked like she was watching a Netflix drama live. Then came the moment that really made the air disappear from the room. Ray leaned back in his chair, looked right at my dad and said, "You still driving that same truck?" It sounded innocent, but it wasn't. It was bait. And my dad? He took it. Slowly looked up. "Still fixing your credit?" he said, calm as ice. And just like that, I knew. This wasn't just a visit. This was a warning shot. Something was about to go down. The silence after that line was brutal. Like, you could hear the ice clinking in someone's glass. Ray didn't even blink. He just grinned wider, like he wanted that reaction, like he wanted a fight. My dad locked eyes with him for maybe 3 seconds, then looked back down at his plate like nothing happened. But his jaw was tight. His hand on the knife was white-knuckled. My mom gave them both a warning look, like, please, not here, not today. And truth is, I think that was the only reason Ray didn't say more. Not yet, anyway. We all kind of went back to pretending after that. Forks clinking again. Someone brought out rolls. My cousin's girlfriend asked if the stuffing was gluten-free. No one answered. It was tense. Real quiet tension. The kind that doesn't scream but just sits on your chest and won't let you breathe right. And Ray? He acted like nothing was weird. He laughed at old jokes, asked my uncle about his back surgery, even complimented the green bean casserole like it was a Michelin star dish. It was so fake it hurt. And the whole time, I kept looking at my mom. She wasn't eating, just pushing food around her plate. Every few minutes she'd glance at the hallway again, like she was waiting for the next shoe to drop. And something about that got under my skin. Like, what else was coming? What was she so afraid of? About halfway through dinner, Ray finally broke the spell. He leaned back in his chair, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and said, "So, I figured we should talk about the cabin." Just like that. No warning, no easing into it, the cabin. Grandpa's cabin, the one upstate near the lake. It hadn't come up in years, not since the will. And yeah, it got ugly back then. Grandpa left it in a trust. Said it was for family use only, which basically meant joint ownership between my dad and Ray. But Ray had wanted to sell it, cash out. My dad refused. Said it wasn't about money. Said it was memories. They fought. Lawyers got involved. Eventually Ray walked. Said he was done. Now, here he was, carving turkey and bringing it back up like it was casual dinner conversation. My dad didn't look at him, didn't even blink, just kept eating. So Ray kept going. "I've been thinking, it's just sitting there. No one's used it in years. Taxes add up, maintenance. Maybe it's time to let it go." And that's when my dad finally spoke. Quiet. Calm. "It's not yours to sell," Ray smirked. "Technically, it's 50% mine. That's what the trust says." My dad set his fork down. Slowly, my mom whispered, "Not here." But it was too late. Ray leaned forward. "Look, I'm just saying, we're older now. We could split it. You get your half, I get mine, we move on. No drama, clean break." My dad finally looked up, straight at him. "After everything, you show up here, uninvited, and want to talk about profit?" Ray shrugged. "It's just business." And then, something in my dad snapped, but not the way I expected. He didn't yell, didn't curse. He just laughed, real quiet, real bitter. Then he reached down, pulled out a folder from under the table. Yeah, a damn folder, and tossed it on the table right in front of Ray. "You want to talk business?" he said. "Here's your paperwork." Ray blinked. "What is this?" My dad leaned back, arms crossed. "Deed transfer, tax history, maintenance records, everything since you walked out." Ray opened the folder, flipped through it, and his face changed. It was subtle, but I saw it. Confusion. Then realization. Then something else. Like regret, but covered in pride. My dad said, "You signed your half over 3 years ago. You just didn't read the clause." Ray stared at him. "That wasn't," my dad cut him off. "It was legal, notarized. You wanted out, remember? You got what you wanted." The room was dead quiet again. My aunt covered her mouth. My cousin leaned back slowly like he was watching a television show. My grandma whispered, "Oh, Lord." And me? I just sat there, stunned, because I remembered that fight years ago. The papers, the yelling, but I had no idea there was a final signature, that it was done. Ray looked up. "So you've just been sitting on this?" My dad didn't blink. "I've been waiting for you to care." And that right there, that hit. You could feel it. Ray didn't say anything for a long moment, just closed the folder. Saturday there, silent. I don't know if it was shame or shock or both, but the tension shifted again. My mom stood up, started clearing plates like nothing had happened, but her hands were shaking. I followed her into the kitchen, helped with the dishes. She didn't say anything until I asked, "Why'd you let him come?" And she looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Because I didn't want your father to carry that weight forever." That's when I realized she'd known. She'd planned it. She'd invited Ray. Not for him. For Dad. To end it. To finally put it down. I didn't know whether to be mad or impressed. Probably both. After that, things didn't go back to normal, but they didn't explode either. Ray didn't storm out, didn't yell. He just kind of sat there, quiet, like his brain was still catching up to what had just happened. My dad stayed calm, scary calm. He finished his food like he hadn't just pulled the rug out from under his own brother. The rest of the table was awkward. People were pretending to eat, but no one was really chewing. The room felt suspended, like we were all waiting for someone to hit resume. And then Ray stood up, just like that, pushed his chair back real slow, grabbed the folder off the table, and looked at my mom. "Thanks for the meal," he said. She nodded, said nothing. He turned to my dad, paused, like he was going to say something else. Then just nodded and walked out the front door. Quietest exit he'd ever made. The second it closed behind him, the whole room kind of exhaled. My cousin cracked a joke, something dumb about family dinners never being boring, and it actually made people laugh. A little, just enough to break the tension. My grandma whispered, "Well, that went better than last time." And for the first time all day, my dad smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, tired one. Like something inside him had finally unclenched. Later that night, after everyone left, I was sitting with him on the porch, just the two of us. Cold beer in hand, stars overhead, the kind of silence that only comes after the chaos clears. I asked him, "You really didn't know Mom invited him?" He shook his head. "Nope. You weren't mad?" He took a sip, stared out at the street for a second, then said, "I was, at first, but then, when he sat down and I saw he was still chasing the same old story, that's when I realized I didn't owe him a damn thing." I nodded. He looked at me. "You know what hurts more than anger? Carrying someone else's weight for too long. I needed to let go. And I got that. I really did. Sometimes the hardest part isn't standing up to someone. It's deciding not to carry them anymore." Inside the house, my mom was finishing up dishes. I heard the clink of silverware, the hum of the dishwasher. Just normal sounds. But they felt lighter. Like something had finally shifted. Not gonna lie, I was still processing it all. The fact that she invited him, that she let the whole thing play out like that. I walked back in, leaned against the kitchen counter, and asked her, "Why didn't you tell us?" She didn't stop what she was doing. Just said, "Because I wasn't sure he'd show up." "But you set a place," I said. "You were hoping he would." She nodded. "Not for me. Not even for him. For your dad. He needed a clean ending. Not another blow-up, just closure." She looked up at me. And I trusted him to handle it. And he had. That's the thing. All these years we thought Dad would lose it if Ray came back. That it'd be this huge, messy thing. But when the moment came, he stayed grounded. In control. He flipped the whole script and never raised his voice once. The next morning, I got a text from Ray. Just 5 words. "Tell your dad I'm sorry." I showed it to Mom. She read it, then deleted it. Didn't say a word. We never mentioned it again. And maybe that's the ending it needed. Quiet. Unspoken. Not dramatic, not tearful, just done. A few weeks later, we went up to the cabin. First time in years. My dad opened the doors, dusted off the porch swing, lit the old fireplace. We sat around with coffee in silence. And for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like something was missing. It felt a whole. And I guess that's the part that stuck with me. Not the fight. Not the folder. Not even the doorbell that started it all. But that silence, that peace. Because sometimes, the loudest chaos comes from the things you've been holding on to for too long. And when you finally let them go, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, what's left behind is something softer, lighter, quieter. That's what Thanksgiving gave us that year. Not just food and awkward laughs and forced small talk, it gave us release. And yeah, it came wrapped in tension and a surprise guest and years of buried resentment. But it ended with breathing room, with space to heal. And if that's not something to be thankful for, I don't know what is.